And of course, spawning at the bottom right here, in the blue, he is, for all America, for all time, MCanning.
And his opponent, spawning up in the top left, representing Alpha X. It is Vindicta. And he is such an aggressive player, such an exciting player to watch. I think he can definitely make this match very, very messy. Of course, we've seen MCanning having some great matches so far. Versus Semper specifically had an amazing set of disruptor shots. I know you think MCanning, you think disruptors, but sometimes I am still surprised by how well he does with them. He's really great at setting himself up into a position where he is, even when he's being aggressive, he creates a position that his opponent has to come to him. And all of a sudden, it's like the defender's advantage lies with the disruptor player, and that's an insane position.
Yeah, you talk about that. Also, big disruptor shots from MCanning. Jon Snow, I did that, that I was lucky enough to cover 2 days ago. I was talking about this earlier in the broadcast. It was a 30 supply swing on full one or two disruptor shots. You're just like, wow, this is the biggest thing I've ever seen. And luckily enough, I think that was on 2,000 atmosphere, so we saw all the corpses fly up into the sky, and it got even more exciting. Because hey, you know what? We'd like to see things explode. We'd like to see things explode even more if they get to fly it up and we get to see their corpses. Wow, that got really depressing. I'm sorry. It's fine here. Oh, look at that! This is a new bunker spot. I have not seen this before.
No one has. That is brand new. Vindicta coming in and throwing out the weird rope-a-dope strats with that bunker. That is very bizarre. That also threatens the main mineral line. So I'm worried about this for MCanning.
And yeah, the benefit of this one, right? So you do not deny mining from a natural. You do not deny that mineral line for a decent amount of time, although it does threaten the main. But the thing is, you need a shield battery, right, to deal with this, to be able to shoo it off. And guess what? There is no pylon anywhere nearby here that's going to allow a Stalker to come out, you to drop a shield battery and be fine. That means that this Reaper has so much more damage potential than it might, say, in the natural, where, well, the Stalker can just knock down this the bunker as long as you want, because shield battery goes down, it's fine. Of course, the flip side, technically, MCanning can still mine from his natural, although, of course, the Reaper's just going to hop down and threaten that anyways. But the SCV is going to go down, and that's a bit of a mistake, though. You want to hide that SCV off when you can. Now, the Reaper's going to be in the bunker, and it's going to extend its life just about for forever and a day here. Although the bunker, again, with the lack of repair, Vindicta is not going to be able to survive this as long as he might otherwise have liked, because, again, that SCV just needs to hop in the bunker, get the Reaper in, and then maybe start to do the repair. Dodge Stalker shots if possible, but still, this bunker could survive a good bit longer. As it is, it has made life a little bit difficult for the can man.
Yeah, it doesn't deny any mining, like you said, which is a very important thing to note. Adept will push this Reaper away, and he gets the salvage. So still successful, I would say, for Vindicta. Still a little bit of an annoyance. He forces out that shield battery. You know, it's not. It's not bad. I honestly kind of expected it to get more. Didn't even get a single probe. Meanwhile, we're seeing... No, okay, then never mind. This is just what MCanning does. Yeah, 3-gate Robo. I was going to say, is this a 4-gate blink? But nope. He loves this 3-gate setup. Loves it.
Yeah, the benefit, of course, it's not quite as greedy as the 2-gate blink expands that we see a decent amount of Protoss players do, but you have options. If you take a lot of damage to a Hellion drop, which... You know, that's a little pessimistic there, but if you take a lot of damage, right, you do have that counterattack opportunity. On top of that, if you see some gap in your opponent's play, well, you can absolutely go forward and punish. It just really is all down to whether you get the Warp Prism or not. If you don't get the Warp Prism, well, you get a couple more Stalkers across the map. They're going to be able to slow down any sort of +1 stim combat shield timing push that Vindicta may be looking to go for. Is, hey, that's what he's getting set up for here now. Stim underway, +1 underway. That's going to be fine. Oh, I love this. Immediately into charge. If you know your opponent is going to do a build like Vindicta is gearing up for, right? Stim, combat shields +1, 2.5 bases, tail as old as time. Well, you get on up to like 6-8 gateways, you get charge. You're in a wonderful position. That build does really not work nearly as well as it does against, say, 3-gate Colossus openings or something like that.
Yeah, I expect we'll see, based on what he's done so far, MCanning is going to go up to 6 gateways, and then he's going to add on a robotics bay for those disruptors and maybe a couple Colossus. Yeah, there it is. We see the ghostly image appearing on the screen. And it's a little bit of a strange play. It skips a forge, doesn't get the most production, but he seems very, very comfortable with it. It's a safe way of him allowing himself to, or him being allowed to go up into very quick disruptors. It's cool. And then behind this, if he holds a push successfully, he'll be going up into double forge as well. At first I was very skeptical of it, and then I saw it against Semper, and it looked really strong. And it looks like MCanning is just a comfort play for him.
And now we're starting to hit this point where Vindicta is going to look to move out on the map. It's right around 6 minutes. All of his upgrades that are relevant are starting to finish on up here. MCanning, he knows the timing. Stalker's out here on the map. He's just going to look to catch what he can. Nice snap there on the observer of MCanning. Vindicta. Actually, I think I had a Vindicta game the other day where Vindicta, he got like 7 observers by the 6 minute mark or something. No, it was 5 observers. I like the 7 minute mark. It was kind of insane. But anyways, yeah, the Stalkers are here in perfect position. The Raven is not going to go down, but it's going to take a lot of damage, which means if we ever see some attempted disruptions, and of course, you can interference matrix a disruptor. It does have the proper tags. So if we see any sort of Raven move forward to try to deal with the, to try to interference matrix anything, well, Stalkers are going to be able to blink on top of that rather easily. It's like 2 Stalker shots off, so no big deal there. But Vindicta, he's got the scan now. He sees the charge is done. He sees that there's the disruptor, and there we go. The interference matrix coming on in from the side. Nice move there from Vindicta. He's going to be able to really just catch everything where MCanning was not expecting it. The disruptor is still alive, though. These zealots are just melting. They have -1 armor, right? They are dying here.
-3.
And
yeah, that's going to be a brutal situation right there. That anti-armor missile helping it a lot. But MCanning is going to be able to kind of blink forward here, goes after this army, and actually chases his back pretty effectively. This went a lot better for MCanning than I expected towards the end. Well done right there from MCanning. Initially, things looked really, really good for Vindicta, but ultimately ends up being still a better trade for Vindicta, but he lost a lot of valuable gas units, that Raven, the tank, the medevac. I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, look at that drop in the natural. Now we're going to start to see a little bit more damage that what Vindicta was looking for. But really that turning point, as I think you said, was the fact that the disruptor shots, well, the disruptors came off a cooldown. They were no longer interfered. They could do a really good job of zoning out the Protoss player. But Vindicta, he's just swarming all over the map. He's here on the right side. Of course, the drop got shooed away, but not before 4 workers went down. He's on the left-hand side as well. And that Widow Mine, I'm a little bit worried. It's not quite in position, but it is certainly enough here to... Well, keep this drop safe a little bit. Stalker can blink on in. Widowmine goes off. 1 Stalker is dead, and actually, you know what? That 1 Stalker dying was enough to make sure the drop got away.
Damn, that is a really, really big difference. Yeah, 2 Stalker shots were all that all the difference between that medevac dying and living. 31 HP and then 14 HP are the magic numbers where you go from being 2-shotted and 1-shotted. I love that MCanning, by the way, has mined out many of these minerals. For now, it's going to be a little bit, awkward for him, but it will allow him to get a lot more mobile between his bases, and I like this. Oh, yeah. Disruptor shot going to get fired out.
Really, these are just zoning disruptor shots. Vindicta is just desperately looking for damage. He has found it, by the way. He's up workers. He is in a good spot there, but he's just trying to poke and prod at MCanning at different spots he can maybe find these weak points that he can actually punish for him. Look at that. We got 1 Widow Mine. It's just going to burrow up on the high ground. And there's the pull in time. Oh, it's going to target down the Colossus, which means this Colossus is now dead. It just took too much damage from the Widow Mine. Stalkers, they're not going to target down the proper medevac, and they will survive. Their disruptor shots are going to be massive, though, and that's going to knock down this drop. No damage there from Vindicta, not in the front, but still, he got a Colossus. I think you're pretty happy there if you're Vindicta, although losing that drop, maybe less so.
Ooh. He was until that disruptor shot hit. Then he was kind of, neutral. And then he loses that drop, and now he's very sad. This is going to be a little bit frightening. 1-1 is done for Vindicta. He's on his 2-2 starting that up. But here, the double forge of MCanning, it is getting heavily chronoed. And we're going to be seeing MCanning catching up on those upgrades pretty nicely. He's getting extended thermal lance for Colossus, adding on double robo. We just saw right there, he started up a Dark Shrine. This is a really great situation for MCanning in game number 1. And look at this observer. He sees the army. Oh, he's going to try and pounce on this.
And Vindicta, I don't know what he saw, but he's going to move on up to the high ground. He's got that scan there. He knows it is, but, well, we're going to see Disruptor on top of the Widow Mines. They're dead. The Zealots make fantastic connections. It looks like we got a Zealot run by in the third base as well. 5 workers, they do go down. I get, was that DT Tech? No, DT, Darksun's not done yet. So a couple Zealots.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah. Interesting. A good little move. Really nice move, actually. 5 SCVs is great. And we are going to see, yeah, once he gets up the ramp, can't really push in there. Zoning Disruptor shot from MCanning just to discourage Vindicta from chasing him. And we've got this 4th Nexus. It's nearly done. 2-2 does start up for MCanning a fair bit later than it could have. It could have been already well on the way. Wow, triple Liberator harass. Okay. I don't like this. I feel like this is, conceptually, I don't hate it. But this is just so many of your Liberators being used for harass. I don't know. They're expensive.
Now, I do like the transition into Liberators because Vindicta knows that MCanning, right? He's the Disruptor man. He had 1 Colossus. He had 2, but now he only has 1. He did lose that one earlier. And he's just building Disruptors out of that. Liberators, of course, fantastic against Disruptors because of relative ranges. Not nearly as good against Colossus. And now we're going to see this pressure come on in from MCanning as he does continue to take some damage, but this is a dead 4th base. I think the Stalkers have enough damage there. Certainly Disruptor shots are going to go off, but they're just going to get exploded. That last shot is going to be fantastic, but it is about the time to zone MCanning out. That base will not go down. 15 probes have gone down here. No mining in the natural or the 3rd base. Not really. And that's even more damaging than losing the workers. Although 16 workers, and that's fantastic. 17, 18 workers are going to go down. 21 here. He said you don't like the Liberator harass. How do you feel about that now, Steadfast?
Yeah, no, I changed my mind immediately. MCanning did not respond to this Liberator harass in any... he didn't respond to it in a good way. He did not respect it, and he has taken so much damage from it. I gotta say, I'm very surprised, and I speechless. That was so much more than that should have ever done.
And now Vindicta here, or he's trying to take his 4th base, but those EMP is going to blanket the entire army. MCanning's not really going to be able to fight anymore. I mean, the other thing we need to be talking about here is MCanning's Disruptor placement has not been the most precise. A couple times now in this game, he has had Disruptors at the front of his army. So then he sends the shots off and immediately Vindicta, he stems on in, he knocks the Disruptors down and they don't do any damage, which means they're not cost efficient in any way, shape, or form. But now MCanning, he's going to match upgrades. He is going to be at 2-2 to the 2-2 of his opponent. And he's not in a terrible economic spot. He's on 64 workers. He does have 4 bases. But I'm not necessarily worried about what we see right now. Right? Again, he is down 12 workers on his opponent, which is massive when we're looking at a TVP. I'm more looking at what's going to happen in the next 2 minutes. Vindicta can't afford to get his 3-3. I don't know if MCanning is going to feel like he's going to be in a good position for that. We may even see a Fusion Core go down as these Liberators continue to be more impactful. EMP is on top of everything. MCanning attacking through a choke. I do not like that. That is not going to be a great fight.
Yeah, the funny thing, he didn't really recognize there was almost no army there. That's because Vindicta sent 3 medevacs full of units to that 4th base, and they managed to pick it off. Vindicta takes himself a really nice economic lead with that. MCanning probably could have pushed in after he took down that Liberator, but now, he's going to try and respond to this. Does take down the medevac, which is big, and he'll get the Ghost. I think that was... No, there's still 1 Ghost with this force. Still, that's a nice pickoff. Meanwhile, there is a DT here. You can't do anything against that.
Oh, look at that, though. He's going to catch all of the Liberators here. Vikings, they're going to go on down before this Colossus dies, even if the Colossus does get low, and that will force Vindicta back for the time being. And this Disruptor shot, hey, you know what? There we go. That's something. But again, the scary thing here is not armies. I mean, armies are scary, sure, but the scary thing is the fact that Vindicta's on 4 bases. He's up 22 workers, and that's almost forcing MCanning into a bit of an all-in spot.
The thing is, even if it does force him into that all-in spot, I disagree. I actually think MCanning's army is very scary. 5 Ruptors here. And that being said, I think MCanning should he's going to jump in on top of this. Oh boy, I don't know if I like this, but the Disruptor shots are going to connect on the SCVs. Planetary Fortress is holding strong with the mass repair. And Vindicta, he loses 14 SCVs, but he takes out a lot of the army. But the last Disruptor shot does connect on those Marauders. Still in the main base, this is big problems for MCanning. He does have DTs. Yeah, but we got plentiful scans here. Charge is getting on top of things. I mean, this is a
Terran Army that has equal upgrades. It's not melting all that quickly. Disruptor Shot's going to go on in once again. Does Vindicta have the splits? It looks like he does here. And the Liberators, they just keep sieging on up. Steadfast, it does not matter if the army dies on the ground. If there are no Stalkers to kill it off, GG, Vindicta, he takes game 1.
My goodness, MCanning, he made some very questionable decisions to really commit in when he needed to be defending. And first it was against those Liberators, and he attacked in, wasn't able to break his opponent. Then again, when that quad drop came through, continued attacking and really paid the price for it. I don't know. That was like a huge overcommitment.
Yeah, but if you're talking about, well, the scary thing here for that MCanning is going for himself is his army, right? That doesn't matter if you can't make something happen with it. So I do feel like MCanning had a lot of pressure on him to make something of the fact that he was up 20 army supply, that he had a scary army. And the only position he could really attack into from the game state was into that 4th base, which had Liberators sieged up, which had a planetary there, which had mass repair. And even as the Disruptor Shots did a pretty good job of knocking down some of those SCVs. I think actually one of the Disruptor Shots killed a lot of Zealots as well, as the Zealots wrapped around on top trying to kill off those SCVs. And again, it wasn't really the entire army of MCanning terrifying. Don't get me wrong. Disruptors, 5 Disruptors, they can make magic happen. But the magic number was the number of Stalkers. And every time MCanning looked to take a fight, more Stalkers died. Every time the Stalkers died, Vindicta was in a better spot. And by the time the game ended, well, A, he was taking damage in his main base, so MCanning wasn't happy there. But B, he had like 3 Stalkers against 4 Liberators. He was no longer in a position where he could take a fight, even if the supplies had been somewhat equal. And they weren't. He was down 20 army supply, which all means that MCanning is unfortunately down 1 game in this series. I guess unfortunate if you are a MCanning fan. If you like Vindicta, well, you're not all that sad. Anyway, Steadfast, we have our game number 2 now. We're ready for that. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. As we have, spawning up in the top right position, representing Alpha X, the player up 1-0, it is Vindicta.
And to the bottom left, in the blue, with all of America's hopes and dreams on his shoulders, down 1-0 in this series. Give it up for MCanning.
And I gotta say, I liked the decision-making and approach from Vindicta in that series. It really felt like MCanning wanted to do that one big punch with his army, and Vindicta was trying to bait that multiple times, and he did bait it twice. And the first time, MCanning did okay on the counterattack, but took so much damage from those Liberators, lost so much mining time, so many probes, and really he found himself in a rough position off of that. Still a good army, but a rough position. And then the second time, killed off the got the drop into the main base, really put MCanning kind of under the gun. MCanning could have easily recalled there and been okay, but he elected to go for it and just lost everything.
I mean, if you think about it, though, the army was exposed enough from MCanning that if he recalls there, Vindicta does have the opportunity to stim on top of that army, does have that opportunity to really pare down a lot of the tech there of MCanning. So yes, you can recall, you can come back, but by the time he either retreated far enough to be safe and then recalled, or just recalled right there and lost stuff, it really felt like it was much more of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation there for MCanning. But as you said, that was part of the way that Vindicta was looking to play this game, right? He never attacked front on. He was just nipping at the heels of MCanning the entire game, and eventually he found enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the approach. I like the approach from Vindicta. It seems like he understands MCanning's mindset pretty well. Now, it is important to note that MCanning, this is must win for him. If he loses here, this throws the door open for either Semper or Trigger, and one of them will advance. That being said, he can still win 2-1, and he is still guaranteed to make it through in that 4th spot. But I don't know. This is looking a little tough for him. He's gonna have to kind of slow his roll a little bit and be a little bit more patient in this game number 2.
Yeah, I think so. He is opening up with the same build. that he opened up with in the last game, at least for right now. We're going to see 2 additional gateways. There we go. We got Blink underway. MCanning is playing this style, as you said, that seems to be comfort for him. And I did like that. He survived the early game rather easily. He was actually in a fairly good spot up until the point where, honestly, up until the point where Vindicta dropped 3 Liberators, with 1 into each mineral line, and killed just about 30 probes. It's kind of hard to come back from that one. And MCanning, he made a valiant show of it. He got some great disruptor shots. But really what needed to happen was he needed to not lose 30 probes to 3 Liberators. And I think we're not going to see that happen again. I think that Vindicta, he's shown this idea that really we don't see happen all that much. You know, when we're talking about a game of StarCraft, players have their heuristics. They're like, okay, if it's 5 minutes, I'm going to look for this. If it is, if we're on 3 base setups, I'm going to look for this. Like these decision-making processes that they have baked in to how they play the game. And let me check all 3 mineral lines at once because they're Liberators that are going to siege on up is not exactly in that PvT heuristic that MCanning has made for himself. I don't think.
If it is, we have to have a talk because I want to know who's doing that to him on a consistent basis, and I think we have to convene a tribunal and be like, all right, why did you send the Liberators there?
Well, I mean, this is an A. It's probably Vindicta. That's kind of a question here. You know, MCanning, Vindicta, they're close enough in MMR that I'm sure they play on ladder all the time. I wonder how much of the kind of the way that Vindicta played that last game is how he normally plays against MCanning when he runs into him, because to my knowledge, MCanning doesn't really use a barcode, or whether this is a hey, this is something new. I guarantee you that Reaper Bunker in the corner is new. 100%. That's not something that that you see on ladder. But the rest of it, well, it's always interesting to see how players they react to playing it, to getting set up to play a competitive best of 3 versus, you know, running into ladder, and how much of it is just their ideas about how a certain matchup is looking to be played. But again, MCanning, he knows how he wants to play this game. We got charge underway. We got immortals. We have it. We don't have a rebel bait yet, but we should have it soon. There we go. Wow, he summoned it, and he's just going into his build.
Yeah, he seems. Oh, he just picked off the Raven. Oh, that is huge. That is gigantic right there. And Vindicta, he is going for this 3-1-1 setup once again, this 3 barracks pressure. But the Raven is such a linchpin of that attack. Oh my God, losing that is actually massive.
Absolutely. I mean, last game we saw that pressure from Vindicta come on in, and the reason he had such a good trade, even as, you know, eventually MCanning was able to push back, was able to equalize things by getting the Raven. The reason he had such a good trade early on was that low Raven was able to swoop on in, disrupt the first disruptor, because we disrupt disruptors all the time. How much disruptors can you disrupt? Anyways, he was able to disable that disruptor, and that allowed him to stim on in to actually take confident trades without having to worry about splitting away and just losing a third of his army in one fell swoop. In this game, that's not going to be a possibility, and the Zealots are going to be 1 armor tankier than they ever would be. So now Vindicta's going to move on out once again. We should see that bunker get salvaged any second now as he gets ready for this +1 stim combat shield timing push. But MCanning's going to be oh wait, these stalkers are going to find the drop, or the drop's going to find the stalkers.
Yeah, it's kind of who came first, chicken or the egg, who found who. It's going to be double disruptor against this, and like you said, the lack of that anti-armor missile, and the oh wow, what? Whoa, very bold move right there from MCanning. Only loses a single stalker and a zealot, maybe? No, it looks like just a stalker. Still, that was a little bit over aggro. You got to be careful with that.
I mean, yeah, did you see the amount of friendly fire on top of that army, though, as that happened? So at least, you know, he was able to bait some friendly fire, bait some SCV, or bait some energy at the very least on the medevacs, but now DT's running on into the main, and the naturally disruptor shots on top of this tanks. One goes down, the other one goes low, and MCanning is going to start to find tremendous value on the other side of the map. Yeah, we got 1 scan in the natural, but it looks like there is no energy for scans in the main base. 3 CC, and what is this? Didn't see whether the 3rd command center had a scan, but certainly the first 2 do not. There we go. That's our 2nd scan. It looks like the DT will be killed off, but 10 SCVs go down. The push from Vindicta is not working. And Steadfast, this game is going much closer to the script that MCanning had written.
Oh, absolutely. This is a much, much better scenario for him. He's up now 16 workers. He's up in army supply. He's got his disruptors, and he is going to be threatening to push on into this base. I don't know if he just goes and just pushes right now before these Liberators come on out. I don't know how Vindicta's actually going to hold, and that's it. Oh, well, great split right there from Vindicta to start things off. MCanning just bum rushing a little bit, but I would have loved to see him come from the right side instead.
Absolutely. I love that one Stalker blink forward, just eat all the tank shots before anything happens in earnest. But Steadfast, we've been talking about what this series means. Even more weight has been added to it now. Trigger, it has been confirmed, Trigger won his series. In fact, he's sitting here rooting for Vindicta. Trigger, if right now, Trigger is rooting for his teammate to book his tickets into the top 4. Vindicta wins, he's able to push Trigger on forward, he's able to help his teammate out. Vindicta loses, MCanning moves on. So not only is there the nebulous, if MCanning loses, someone moves through that's not him, now Vindicta has a friend he's fighting for. I don't know if that's going to make the difference here, but there's even more weight on this series now.
That is a pretty big deal, actually. Like, that's the kind of thing that can definitely provide that little bit of extra, you know, a little bit of extra purpose and pressure. Ooh, big blink forward, gonna find a medevac, but will lose a lot of stalkers. Disruptor shots a little bit late to cover there. And meanwhile, the DT is not gonna get too much in the main base. The drop does get dealt with very effectively from MCanning. Stalkers and Zealots able to take down one of the medevacs and a good amount of bio. That actually went, I would say, quite well for MCanning.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic in this game. Oh, there we go. We're not going to see nearly the amount of Liberator damage that we saw in that previous game. Is that, yeah, MCanning is reacting to this a whole lot better. And because Vindicta is not targeting things, MCanning is going to be totally happy to lose a couple Stalkers in exchange for not losing his mineral line. But notice here, MCanning in this game, he's got a lot more stuff in his bases, right? He had that big, decent amount of army in the main. He had more in the third. He understands that MCanning, or that Vindicta's game plan in this series is to spoon Terran him apart. And well,
yeah,
he's been frozen a little bit too hard for that one. Spoon's not going to break. MCann.
No, the can man is prepared. He had those units in the main base doing great work against that. We are going to see a 4th command center coming down from Vindicta. It looks like Liberators are still the weapon of choice, and a very quick enhanced shockwaves coming up before 2-2 was started, and before that +1 ship weapons. I'm surprised we didn't see the +2 ship weapons in game 1. It is such a huge power spike for a Terran army. Another blink forward there to bait the tank shot, and this is going to be MCanning finding Vindicta very out of position, and now it is this base getting kind of pushed away. Ooh, the tank will go down, but a lot of bio getting some good shots, but a huge ruptor on those SCVs, and MCanning finds himself another solid fight right there.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the army's traded somewhat efficiently, but 17 workers went down Steadfast. That last disruptor shot was so fantastic. And yes, we do have this one drop here from MCanning, or from Vindicta, trying to make something happen. But the disruptor shots on the army here. Vikings are firing strong, but it does not matter. GG, folks. We're going to game 3. This one is truly for all the marbles.
Absolutely. This is everything right here. MCanning, Vindicta down to 1 map. It is basically, you know, Vindicta. He is the champion of Trigger at this point. Will he be able to win it for his teammate, win it for his own pride? Or is MCanning going to be able to get that last spot? Oh man, I am very excited about this one.
I am, and here's the thing, right? Vindicta doesn't necessarily know that Trigger won his previous series. Doesn't know what he's fighting for. But what are the odds that Trigger, now that Vindicta is out of this game, and just messages him, he says, Vindicta, Miguel, please win this game. I want to move on to top 4. I want to move on into the playoffs. I don't know. But certainly Vindicta, if he chooses and if Trigger reaches out to him, he is going to know just what the stakes are in this game. Again, it's not just $125. It's not just maybe 200, 275 if he does leapfrog someone else. It's all about also getting his teammate, getting his friend into the playoffs. Game number 3 is on Oxide. And this one is going to be explosive at the very least.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is going to be a very, very cool one. This, like you said, it is for all the marbles here. I wish we had that player cam for MCanning, so we could have seen the big fist pump at the end there. This is it. This is do or die. If MCanning wins, he's through. If he loses, it is Trigger.
That it is. And so, without further ado, let's get into this penultimate match. And in the upper right, in the red, fighting for his friend, fighting for Alpha X. Give it up for Vindicta.
And his opponent, spawning down in the bottom left, it is the Murican, representing Nation Wars, representing all that is good. He is MCanning. All the pressure on right now. This is the tournament life on the line for MCanning. It all comes down to one game. This is what we build to. This is why we have these long, grueling group stages. This is what we're hoping for. That at the end of the day, it comes down to the final game for these players to determine what happens, who makes it through. And I've got to say, I am so excited. Beowulf, what do you think we're going to see out of these two players? Anything, any switch-ups, what do you think we'll see?
Honestly, knowing how stylistic these players are, seeing what has happened in our first two games, right? We saw the same build twice in a row. One time it worked for MCanning, one time it worked for Vindicta. I think we're going to kind of see the same thing. Maybe we see Vindicta do something a little bit different. I can see, say, Widowmine drops or Hellion drops to start things off, maybe into a slightly later push. But I see MCanning kind of doing the same thing, and that makes sense, right? Vindicta, he got a lot of damage done in game number one. He was able to make things happen, and the way he won that game was not because of his opener. It was because of moves he made in the mid game, moves he made in the late game that allowed him to eke out advantages. Same is true in game number two. MCanning, he did not take that damage that he took in game number one. It wasn't because of anything that happened in the early game. He just outmaneuvered Vindicta on the map. He out-multitasked him, and he ended up winning that game. So game three, we both know these openers get Vindicta and MCanning into series, into setups that they want. And as I build this storyline, it's a 3 racks here. We got stim, combat shields. Vindicta's going to look just to pull the wool over MCanning's eyes in this game. So if we know MCanning, it's going to be 3 racks blink or 3 gate blink in this game 3. How do these builds match up against each other?
You know, I don't know for sure, but based on what MCanning was doing, I feel like he should have a good setup against the 3 racks with how quickly he gets charged. I feel like that gives him a good baseline, but it is very possible that Vindicta's push may hit just before those gateways really get rolling, really come online, and just before that charge is available. It is going to come down to, I think it'll probably be like 30 seconds on the timing. Look at this, by the way. Vindicta just sent like 6 SCVs to the natural.
Well, you know.
Huh. That was a bluff. That has to be a bluff, because normally you would wait till 16.
Yeah, so is he going now? Is he now going to pull the boys on this? I mean, I'm looking at this. It looks like he's trying to sell even more the idea that this is not an aggressive option. As there we go, we have our additional gateways getting added on in Robo as well. So does this mean he's going to get even more aggressive than your standard, 3-rack stim timing hits around 4:35 minutes with 20 odd Marines? Is he going to pull the boys with this? Does that mean that's what it means, or it's just he's really trying to pull the wool over MCanning's eyes that this is, say, a 3cc play or something like that?
So I realize now that it's actually, I think this is just a stylistic thing from Vindicta. If I had to guess, I think he just doesn't want to have to worry about raising and lowering his depots. So he literally just sent a bunch of SCVs down to the natural. And yeah, he just left his depot closed for like a while there. So I'm pretty sure that's all that it was. I built it up like it was some big thing, and I genuinely thought it was. But yeah, upon further review, I think that it was not the case.
And that's fair. Also, what that means is you don't have to worry about making some mistake, and it doesn't matter. I mean, if one adept gets in the main base, this army that Vindicta has is going to be more than enough to deal with that. But he does not want his army to be scouted. All right, so if you can just keep the wall up, sure, adept is never going to shade on up there. You're going to be fine. As the adept will knock down one Marine as the scouts across the map. But now this is going to be the first timing that MCanning will be aware that the army is moving out of map, as it will find the adept any second now. Yeah, it finds the adept, finds the hallucinated Phoenix, and this is where the alarm bells go off. Yeah, MCanning immediately cancels that third base. He's like, look, I cannot hold that here. I do not have what I need. Shield batteries coming on down, some sentries in the wall, which means that Vindicta will not be able to punch on through into the main base. We won't see the stim into the mineral line. A couple gateways even getting canceled.
Yeah, that is surprising to me. He was up at 7 gateways, like on the way, which is actually one more than he's been building. And he does add on. Oh, now he adds on a robotics bay and a forge. So just a single forge. So he is going to switch things up in response to this. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I kind of like it, in fact. Specifically, just the single forge adjustment really gets me jazzed. That's something I like a lot.
Yeah, absolutely there. And that is the proper response, right? You understand that your third is going to be later. You will not have the gas, will not have the mineral income quite in time to support double forge production, especially when we have Vindicta here going into a 2-base all-in. 2 additional barracks. It is 5 plus 1 is on the way. He's not going to wait for 3 command center play like we saw in the last 2 games. This one is for all the marbles. Does his push work and does it not? Yes. This is Legacy of the Void. You have the opportunity to float your main into your third. But if that's happening, I mean, MCanning is going to be in a fantastic position regardless. And look at this. It's not going to be Disruptor play this time. Colossus is going to be the name of the game for MCanning. And if he gets his force fields right, I kind of like it.
I do as well. But that being said, there's a lot of Marauders here. 10 Marauders is very, very strong against Colossi. That's going to be extremely difficult to deal with. We are going to be seeing a 3rd command center coming down behind this, but this is still going to be a very, very committed push. And I still classify this as a 2-base all-in. To me, it still is, because you have to get so much done. Oh, this hallucinated Phoenix. Actually, no, the Observer is going to spot this army moving in here. Now, the first Colossus does pop out. There's no Raven. This is a good position for force fields. You gotta be real careful. Yeah, Vindicta. Yeah, smart move.
Yeah, trying to knock that one on down. But I mean, the supply lead is not that big. I mean, yes, it is +1 versus +0. That's the thing. But this army that Vindicta has across the map, it's not really that scary compared to what MCanning has. Of course, Extended Thermal Lance just about done. And this drop may be what actually breaks things, shakes things loose just a little bit. Although, of course, MCanning will got that great observer placement, really on both sides of the map here. He sees everything that's happening. But the drop's not going to happen. Now we have Vindicta looking to push on in. We have 2 Colossus now. Extended Thermal Lance is done. Yes, there's a tank here, but it's only 1 as more and more Zealots warp on in. This is starting to look rather good for MCanning here. Now, first in the pudding, can he take this engagement? As he's going to look to try to take the engagement right now, but this is not a concave view attack on into all that easily.
Yeah, that's a lot of bio, and Vindicta has so much space for himself in the natural. Oh, and he's going to go after the robotics facility. MCanning, though, oh, nice blink, acting like force fields with the Stalkers, and then some actual force fields coming in to discourage the push from Vindicta. MCanning with a really nice move right there. +1 weapons does complete. MCanning with another sacrificial blink Stalker. We do have double Liberator showing up, though, and you can't really see on the ground because of the coloring. But there are some nasty liberation zones. The 3rd Colossus gets denied. That is a big play for Vindicta right here.
Yeah, I feel like this was how game, well, yeah, never mind. Anyway, we have MCanning going on in here now. Zealot's getting on top of this army. The Colossus, they're just stuck in the back line, but it does not matter here, Steadfast. The Colossus, they're doing what they can. The tanks are dead. That's all that matters here. Stalkers blinking on top of the medevacs. They're doing what they can, but this army of Vindicta has been smacked on into the ground. All the tech of Vindicta is dead. All the tech of MCanning is still alive. And that push did not get anywhere near the amount of damage it was looking for. And on the other side of the map, looks like a couple SCVs were knocked down as well. So yes, a Robo was killed. That 3rd Colossus was knocked on down before it even had a chance to do damage. But MCanning, he is in a wonderful position in this game, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, because we saw this similar position earlier today. I forget, it was a PVT where we just saw another Protoss lose. That exact same spot on Oxide, the siege up, the Liberators just making sure all the Robo units on the right-hand side on that 3rd base could not engage as the bio stemmed into the natural. Unfortunately, Vindicta was not able to quite find the position with those Liberators that really separated things off. And I think there was maybe 1 less tank, so MCanning was able to take that fight. And now we go on. MCanning, he's down 3 workers. He's up 5 army supply. Can just cap out even.
I would say he's still in a good spot. He just rebuilt his double Robo. He's now going to be going into Ruptors. Can switch back into those Colossus if he so desires. In fact, I'd love to see him even go up to 3, maybe even 4 Colossus, just add 1 or 2 more on, just because his opponent probably isn't expecting him to go back into Colossus so quickly, having sniped that robotics facility. And of course, Vindicta is going for Liberators. Liberators, okay against Colossus, not great on Oxide. Even a fair bit worse, I would say, because there are so many counterattack paths and so many paths to outmaneuver.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one Marine's gonna try to do what it can, but upgrades are a thing it's not really gonna accomplish. Oh, hey, he's gonna get a probe. And now,
Yeah, technically worth it.
technically worth, yeah, well, 50 minerals for 50 minerals. But so now MCanning, he does have that second forge. I like going into 2-2. He had to get single forge. We talked about that earlier just from an economic state. But now that he has his fourth base on the way up, he's totally fine. And look how far forward the sensor tower is. It sees everything that MCanning is trying to do. But also, that's good, right? It forces a more defensive utility here from Vindicta. Now he's going to move on in. MCanning going for bust here. The tanks are going to go down just like that. Disruptor shot is going to go down to the Liberator, I think. And yeah, MCanning's going to be forced on back here. Kind of a wash, honestly.
Yeah. MCanning, that was a little bit overly aggressive. But that being said, he buys openings for his DPs, getting into the natural, getting into the main. 10 SCVs going down. Oh, this one's a little bit body blocked, but more workers going down in the main base, losing a lot of mining time. And an aggressive move coming in from MCanning. Maybe not the play, but he is distracting effectively. And gets even another SCV on top of that. Ghosts do come in, take out that DT. Oh, but another bold blink forward. Disruptor shot not going to be able to connect though. And MCanning, oh, that might have been a huge overcommitment right there. He needs to disengage, and he needs to disengage right now. Oh man, he just really exposed himself a lot, but got away with one.
Yeah, that army there really was not MCanning's friend. And I gotta say, the target fire that we've seen from Vindicta in this game, right, with his tanks, with his liberators, has knocked down so many potential disruptor shots right as they're about to hit. And although I don't know if you saw, MCanning also, he dropped force fields that prevented the bio that was about to die to the disruptor shot from actually being in position where the disruptor shot was going to be. It didn't matter.
Oh.
Disruptors died, but you know, bit of a mistake there.
I would say a little bit more than a bit of a mistake. By the way, 2-2 timings, all within every single upgrade finished within about 4 seconds of one another. For like all 4 upgrades between the two players. +3 started up immediately by MCanning. MCanning is going to find an opening where the Liberators are not, and he is going to be able to jump on a couple of these units. Bioforce is pretty large behind this, but MCanning has bought himself position on this base. He's going to be able to take out a lot of SCVs. There was an attempted run by on the left side, but not going to be able to get too much. Meanwhile, Disruptor shot, oh, almost connecting, just barely getting dodged. This game is still so close in terms of supply.
This is such a difficult position for MCanning to attack on into with the tanks, with the concave here. Yes, he did a great job. He shoved the third base off for a time being, but Vindicta has a fourth. Vindicta continues to be just about 10 workers down the entirety of the game. Every time he gets back up, MCanning runs on in, kills off more, but MCanning also really is struggling to breach that 90-odd total army supply mark, that 150 total supply mark. Every time it happens, he moves on in. He fails to get the damage he's looking for. Now Stark is going to move on in. Once again, nice EMPs on top of all of these Archons. Their HP is going super low. And look at these pre-splits here from Vindicta. MCanning is just not allowed to move on in. Now all the disruptor shots have moved on out. And MCanning, once again, he's going to be forced to back on up here. And again, it's all about the disruptor shots that he's just not really connecting on. Hey, another tank's going to go down, though. That's going to be nice. Just reducing the defensive ability that MCanning, or that Vindicta has.
Yeah, I really like this. Vindicta's really trying to set up a lot of set piece plays and always forcing MCanning to push into him. So the more openings that Vindicta or that MCanning can find, be that picking off siege tanks, be that opening up rock paths, is good. Speaking of which, disruptors are going to get dodged. Does hit a ghost with them, but not a whole lot. Ooh, does hit a tank there. Takes that out. Meanwhile, actually, MCanning, he's going to dominate this fight on the right side. Where is the rest of Vindicta's army? It's not enough.